How to replace the fuel filter on an OM642. Well, first things first, you need to make sure that you bought the correct filter. So I've got the right filter for this car here, but you gotta be careful because there are three distinct fuel filters. The first type is this one here. So what it has is it has the two the fuel in and out. They're slightly offset. They're at a different angle, but they're like on the same side of the filter. So this is type 1. They're going to be like at an angle, same side of the filter. The next type is there'll be just the two fuel connections. They're going to be on either side of the central hole here. So they're going to be like this. That's the second type. The final type is the one found on the latest models. It looks a little bit like this, but it's got, these two are actually parallel. They're not at an angle. And what it has is where the water sensor goes, it has a fat 5-pin plug. If you have a fat 5-pin plug, you've got the latest one. Just, something to be careful of. There's 3 different ones, so make sure you get the right one for your car. So the location of the fuel filter is fortunately not in a bad spot, but a little bit of disassembly will be needed. It's right here, as you can see it, underneath this line here. So I mean, basically, you have to remove. There's 2 bolts. Well, you'll have to remove the bat wing / mass airflow sensor because it gets in the way, so we have to remove that. And then, this one in particular has 2 bolts, so you remove those, you undo your hose clamps, whatever. If you've never done this before, the hose clamps are going to be one-time use, but you can replace them with, regular hose clamps that come with, just a screw type. So, correction, it had 3 bolts, and ooh, my battery's low. Anyway, it had 3 bolts. The one next to the intake's annoying to remove because you can't get a 3/8 inch fucking Jesus. Why can't the Americans switch to metric yet? Anyway, you can't get a 3/8 inch drive external torque socket in because it banged against the intake. So the only 1/4 inch drive sockets that I have are hex, but anyway, it worked. So yeah, now you gotta remove this central thing. This is the water sensor or heater. I don't know what the hell this is. It's something important. So you gotta remove. There's 2 bolts here. They look like Torx. So you gotta remove these 2 here. Ooh, how very undecent of me. Anyway, so over here you've got the probe that goes into the center of the fuel filter. To remove it, you gotta remove the 2 Torx screws that are on top. They're T20s. I suggest you actually leave the central part on. It unscrews, but leave it on because then you can grab it by pliers and then just pull it out. So in your fuel filter kit, you'll receive, as you can see, there's 2 little O-rings here. There's one right here and there's one right here. So the fuel filter kit comes with, well, obviously a fuel filter, but it also comes with new O-rings and a new little cap that goes on top here, like this guy that I'm holding a stick by. So you gotta replace the O-rings. Oil them up. Well, don't oil them. Use a little bit of diesel fuel to make sure that they don't stick or anything. So lube them up with some diesel. Pop this thing back in. Screw it back on into your new filter. Replace the top cap. Whatever, don't know what this is for, but anyway, screw it back on and yeah, I mean, just reverse. So yeah, once you've got all the magic beans transplanted, it's time to put everything back together. Well, this is very interesting because I was gonna put it back and I realized, wait, there's nothing holding on. Like, what are these? Well, it turns out they just clamp around here on the back. So you can remove this, unclamp it, move to the other one, and, well, yeah, you'll have a way of, like, actually securing your fuel filter. So yeah, move the clamp over and obviously leave it loose because, you know, it's going to be, so you can align it, and then later on it's a 5mm hex, just, you know, put a little key on and tighten it up. So this is now beautifully set up. So yeah, no, back here there's nothing more to add. When you start the car, you're gonna have to first turn the key to the on position. Don't start the engine yet. Let the electric fuel pump, you know, fill the fuel filter up with fuel and push all the air out, and then try to start the engine. It might take 1 or 2 attempts, you know, depending on how long you wait and whatever, but it should start up right away. So now a few, just I guess, random tips and tricks that I'm gonna include in the video. First things first is the map sensor. You need to know that there are 2, and unfortunately they're different, but extremely similar both in how they look and in part numbers, but you got to be careful, there's 2. There's one right here at the driver's side airbox. This is the one I wanted to buy because I'm chasing down a P1101 code, and I replaced the mass airflow sensor. So before I start replacing more things, I'm just gonna change this sensor out and see what it does. That's the sensor I wanted to change. Instead, I bought this sensor here, which is also a map sensor. So since I already bought it and it only cost $30, I'm going to replace it. And yeah, just be careful when shopping around for map sensors. There are 2 different ones. So that's that. Next trick, I guess I might as well mention it. If you want to do, if you want to replace the air filters, mine are already replaced, so I'm not going to do it in this video. But to remove the 2 air boxes, they both have 2 screws, one in the front. You can see one right here. You can remove this one. There's another one hidden in the back. It's captive, so when you remove it, it actually stays with the air box, so it doesn't, you know, fall somewhere and get lost. But you just have to unscrew that one. To remove this air box, it's pretty straightforward. You have to tilt it up like this and just slide it out. It's going to come right out. This one, unfortunately, is much more difficult, and you will trash the firewall removing it, but you know, you got to do your maintenance, right? And I don't think you can remove this. I mean, like, I'm not even sure how it's fastened on, but anyway, to remove this, what you got to do is, you know, again, take the 2 screws out, remove the power steering cap, just, you know, take it out, twist it, take it out, and then you have to, whereas the one on that side you moved like this one you're gonna have to tilt it up like this, because otherwise it's not gonna clear down there. So you gotta tilt this up like this. It's gonna just scratch its way on the firewall. As you can see, this already ruined here. Once it's ruined, it's not gonna get any worse, but yeah, just tilt it upwards and then you can pull it out. As for the mass airflow sensor, I promised that I would find an easier way of installing it, because it is pretty annoying. So the best thing to do is to put a little bit of oil around this seal, just so it slides on and you don't damage it in case you screw up. But what you got to do is, on the, let me see, okay, on the bottom side, let me set it down. This is the bottom side of the mass airflow sensor. Both these rubber boots are going to have a piece of rubber sticking out like that, and it's that piece of rubber that makes installing this mass airflow sensor so annoying, because it always gets caught on one or the other airbox. It folds and then it doesn't seat correctly around the airbox. So if you just take a pair of knives, a pair of scissors, what am I saying? If you take a pair of scissors and you just cut this off, you see that the clamp sits right there, so you still have, you know, this still makes a nice seat around the airbox. But if you cut this out, it's going to make it a lot easier. And do the same thing on the other side. If you have both cut away, it's going to make installing the mass airflow sensor a lot easier.